Building a brand is a crazy and exciting journey. It's a playground for great ideas, amazing products, and meaningful stories. Brands today have to inform and entertain their audiences and, most of all, never stand still. A brand is a living, ever-changing entity that represents its founder and at the same time resonates with the zeitgeist. That means brands have to change and evolve and reinvent themselves from time to time. If it's done right, you'll build lasting connections to your audience. But when and how do you have to readjust your brand? And how do you do it? Hey sweet people, how's it going? If you want to find and share the sweet spot of your brand, you've come to the right place. I'm your host Marc Suess, and with the Sweetspot Podcast, I'm investigating creative life and work. I'm talking to entrepreneurs, artists, and creatives of all sorts to find out how they found and share their sweet spot. Today, I'm talking to Michael Ehrenwirth. He is the German brand ambassador for the traditional spirits brand Linie Aquavit. Linie has been produced with an unchanged recipe since 1821. And as many traditional brands, Linie is facing the challenge to stay in touch with a younger audience and find its place in the ever-changing world of nightlife, bar culture, and new media. We talk about the heritage of the brand, how it evolves and gets reinvented, and we will find out what role a brand ambassador plays in all of this. Oh, and Michael is also a renowned bartender who owns his own bar, Enfant Terrible. And in this episode, we learn about the creative process and inspiration when it comes to mixology and the art of making the perfect drink. So pour yourself a glass and enjoy my talk to Michael Ehrenwirth.
Welcome to the Sweet Side. This is the Sweetspot Podcast with Marc Suess, investigating entrepreneurship, purpose, and the creative life.
Sweet people, it's my pleasure to welcome today Michael Ehrenwirth, brand ambassador of Linie Aquavit. Michael, how are you?
First of all, thank you so much, Marc, for the invitation. I had a so far awesome day, including looking for a parking space here in Hamburg. But I was lucky to find one in front of the door of the Sweetspot Studio. So yes. Hope you're fine as well, and I can't wait for our talk today.
Perfect. That's our VIP guest service, reserved spot in front of the house.
Yeah, seems so.
Yeah, Michael, we met on Saturday. We visited you on a vernissage. It was kind of a gallery opening night. You and your brand, Linie Aquavit, were sponsoring and catering the event. And I saw you there being 100% in your element. You were hosting at the bar, serving drinks, managing the bar staff, greeting and connecting people. So maybe we can dive right into a night like this. What do you love about nightlife, bar culture, and when did you find that passion in your life?
Perfect. So I think these were several topics, but I think we can easily go through them. First of all, thank you for the compliment. So and I was very happy to welcome you there as well. And of course, as I'm working as a brand ambassador for a spirits company, you should have, in general, a passion for drinks and spirits. Otherwise, I think you would be wrong in the field of work. So I'm glad that you saw the passion, hopefully, that I had. And of course, as you mentioned already, I had already in the past, early in my days, I started to find out about my love for the industry and my love for hospitality in general. When it comes to my family, unfortunately, I never met him, but my grandfather, who died unfortunately already in his early 30s, but he had a nightclub and restaurant in Stuttgart.
So
therefore,
wow.
It might be that in my DNA was already something connected to hospitality, and I still love looking through all of those ancient pictures when he was there with all of those ancient superstars like Roberto Blanco and people from German music scene from those 70s days. And I started next to my school, of course, in a gelateria, so in an Italian cafe. Mm-hmm. I worked there first time when I was 14 years old. And even there, of course, this was not like then handling with alcohol, of course, but I started soon to feel that this kind of like work when it's that close connected with people, and to show them a good time and to make them experience a good quality and service was something I was really into. And soon after that, especially like after finishing the school and doing some internships in some bars. I was lucky to start soon in very well-known bars, and could work further and further on my skills. And then in the end we had even like especially like a big thanks to Cihan Anadologlu that I first met at Schumann's Bar Munich, and who later got me in his first opening team of the Circle Bar Munich. I was very lucky to build and grow my network, because I think like you might know it as well, Marc, networking today is, I think, one of the most important things next to the skills that you should have, of course. I was lucky to open my own bar too. And since that, I already got closer and closer in contact with the company I'm working today for. So Anora, but we are speaking today more about the brand Linie Aquavit, I think. And yes, there I did some several competitions, made some like external consulting, and then I was lucky that to find out that they were looking for somebody for the German market. Yeah. And here we are now in the 4th year of working for Linie Aquavit.
That's amazing. But let's go back to your actual passion of finding your passion for hospitality, because that's something that's one of the reasons you're here today, because I think hospitality is a field where every entrepreneur and creative can learn so much from, because greeting people, making them feel at home, open up, having good conversations, connecting to people, that's like a superpower. Besides all your professional skills, giving people a good time and creating a shared experience is, I think, even as the world gets more digital, even more important today. So that's something I really want to dive in with you. But let's look at your story. You just said you were working in Munich at the Circle Bar, and you had several stations as a bartender, and you've been pretty successful in that field, we must say.
This is like, thank you so much. This is of course very, this is always relatively point of view, but yes, I would agree that at least when I think back to the days, to some competitions, and especially what I'm really glad about, the network that I could grow so fast, I would definitely see that I was successful some way, somehow. As well with my own bar, we could manage to get into some what is it called? Some bar guides where we were recommended. And I think especially when you speak about the hospitality, I share 1000% your perspective, that I think this is the most essential part when it comes to gastronomy or working in this field, but as you mentioned as well for other sectors, because in the end, because I did, for example, as well, like cocktail courses for kids at the FHS, the Volkshochschule in Germany, so as a volunteer. But I think in the end, making a drink is something that you can really train, but when you are not like in this like outgoing mood or taking people the fear of entering a new place, because for me this is stuck in the origin of man, because back in the days with the dinosaurs and everything, the people had their holes and their caves, and they lived like where the light was, and going out in the dark into an unknown place. Even today, the people are feel a little bit afraid when you walk alone in a wood and it's dark. You don't feel very comfortable. And for me, this is the same when you enter a new place where you haven't been before. You come from, especially in nightlife, so outside it's dark, you see this kind of fire back in the days in a cave, and you enter, and then it has to be the hospitality that catches you. And in the end, we all might know, if a food is bad, if a drink is not the best, but the service is good, you still even tip. Yeah. Because I think this is the main skill that people have.
Oh, I love that you bring it down to some Jungian archetypical light in the darkness thing. I really appreciate
it. This is not like the philosopher.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, but that's what nightlife is about, right? What is your cave? What's the piece of light you're drawn to? So, okay, a lot of questions. Let's start with your own bar, Enfant Terrible. You opened it in September 2016, back in Bavaria, actually, where you come from, I think. And it's a cool name, by the way. What is it with the name, and what was the concept for your bar? How did you start opening a bar?
Yes, it was like, of course, like you can translate enfant terrible, what comes from the French and means something like horrible child.
But in a punk rock way, in a cool way.
Kind of punk rock way, but when you go to it like and look at the noun, like historically, it kind of like represented this kind of bad people or like un-establishment people from an upper class. Yeah. So when we think about, like, for example, Oscar Wilde was very, very representative from that times. But even like when you think of nowadays, people like Kate Moss or who is the guy from Baby Shambles? Pete Doherty. Yeah, here we have the music connection again. I think for me, it was like just like essential to create a place where people, no matter what kind of wealth background you have or society background you have, could just enjoy a good time and live in the way they want to express themselves in this atmosphere. So this was why we chose the name.
So how did that translate to drinks or atmosphere or even music you played there? How was the place? It's closed now, right?
Yes, it's this story part which many entrepreneurs might face when they make a collaboration with people that are just interested in money and not in the concept.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, we had to close it in the end due to some personal issues we had or I had with my partners.
That happens. Yeah.
But of course you learn a lot even from things like this. And of course we tried to bring in this enfant terrible lifestyle to drinks. Of course we worked only with seasonal ingredients. We made everything that we could do we did ourselves, so like syrups, infusion, etc. We stole some wild elderflower from gardens. We weren't allowed to steal them, for example, it was like conservative Bavaria, so
it's a big deal. It's a big deal.
And so it was really like breaking the law, like Judas Christ would sing now in the back. But it was like, for example, we even had a kind of like secret garden that we built up every night in the streets as soon as the police weren't controlling anymore, because it was forbidden to put something on the street. So we had some enfant terrible aspects, definitely.
Awesome. In your experience as a bartender, creating your own bar concept, I really want to talk about your inspiration a little bit, because I imagine you told me before the interview that you were playing music in a past life and now you are handling bar recipes, which is a very culinary pleasurable skill. So I wonder if you think about drinks and different ingredients and tastes. Can I imagine it like practicing an instrument, or if you're a painter, you have a palette of colors? Is this how you approach it? Do you know, okay, this is sweet, this is sour, this is savory? Or how are you inspired for a new drink or a new combination?
Yes, I think like as bartending, let's put it like this now, like speaking about bartending, not just like gastronomy or hospitality. I think, of course, it's a craft with a long history, and I really prefer to speak about bartending as a craft, instead of many people speak about it as being a science, because I think like bartending, there's no need to hide behind this craft, and it has a really long tradition. You have Absolutely. Like the first books already being published like in the 19th century. So I think from the craft aspect side, no matter what craft it is, this is always essential to focus on the classic first, and the classics and the techniques and the, like, let's call it like hard skills. And from that you will soon be quite fast able to create own drinks. But for example, you have to understand that a drink that only consists of spirits and syrups, for example, is of course only sweet and not balanced. So you should always like understand somehow the classics, and then develop and twist and get to your own style of drinks that you prefer.
All right. It's not Linie Aquavit, but my favorite classics are whiskey sour and probably an old fashioned. What do you go for if you want? Let's say you go into a new bar and you want to really test them if they're good or not. What do you order? What's like the benchmark if you try a new bar?
I think like the classics you mentioned are always a good a good way to go for. Of course, it's for me it's always like hard to compare bars because of course you have some bars that are from the style more outgoing, like dive bars. You have people dancing later. So, of course, maybe an old-fashioned might be a little bit challenging there. But I think with a sour, as you mentioned, that could be done with linear aquavit as well.
Exactly.
Or a daiquiri. I personally love next to aquavit rum. So I always go for a daiquiri for a first try because, like, to see the balance between sweet and sour is, easy to check then.
Okay, amazing. So, but still this, let's say today you have an inspiration or an idea for a new drink with linear aquavit, for example. How can I imagine you come up with a new drink? Because you're working on new long drinks now, you serve different things at the events. We're going to talk about this later more, but I'm really interested always in creative processes. Is it more like trial and error, or is it like you have the dream of blueberries and cucumber and aquavit, or how does it work? How does it look like?
I think you can go with like several. I think like everyone is different when it comes to creativity, of course, because I really love, even though this is something I'm not very good into, or let's say this is not my way of creative processes, but I think like I really admire people that can go completely with colors. Thinking about colors when creating whatever they are creating, drinks, music, or paintings. I think this is really impressive. I, by myself personally, I go mainly with, of course, with seasonal aspects because sustainability, etc., is getting more and more nowadays like an important topic. So I think like seasonal ingredients are very essential for me. And either I check first the aquavit that I want to use, and then, for example, okay, I know it's an aged aquavit, so I know what tones the wood from the cask might deliver, and I try to find ingredients that kind of spotlight those flavors that are already given by the aquavit. Or it's the other way around, that I think about like, okay, I want to create a floral, for example, a floral cocktail, and think about ingredients that I might use to create a floral drink, and then I choose my aquavit that might fit the best.
Wow, and that's amazing. That's interesting to look on the other side of the bar. I really like that. Okay, so you've been a bartender, you had your own bar. So, and today you're the brand ambassador for Linear Aquavit. First of all, for all the people that are not in the marketing, brand management world, what exactly is a brand ambassador?
I think it's like, this is a very good question because, of course, when you like, first of all, brand ambassador, working as a brand ambassador is like mainly a representative work. But of course, we try to, with everything we do, we try to bring up the sales, of course. When you follow some of us, I have many colleagues working for other brands too. So don't get the wrong picture that we are only drinking and partying, because of course our social media is mainly driven by event photos, etc. But of course, it's a lot of like marketing work in the back office. But in the end, I think like no matter what brand it is, I think it's like to bring the strategy from marketing side to life, and especially for the end consumer or your customer, to make it like experience and to create an emotion that you get. And I think this is like this is the same for every brand. So no matter if you are working as a representative for an art project or a fashion, I think this is more or less the essential part of being a brand ambassador.
All right. Okay. We get that. So how does your day-to-day work life look like?
Of course, yes, I think everybody is sick of the COVID topic, but of course I mention it shortly because of course
it's important in
the
your
work
line of
changed,
work.
of course. So I think for everyone, like digital work is getting more and more important, of course, e-commerce too. So of course we changed many. For example, we do a lot for education as well, but this is more for not for consumers. We do this too, but as I'm focusing mainly for the hospitality sector, we did for example change a lot of our tastings and master classes now to a digital version, as we couldn't travel, for example. But I think my daily or weekly work is mainly consisting of classic casual marketing meetings where we talk about strategies and what we want to achieve in the upcoming 4 months, like quarter year. And of course, like you take care of the clients you have. So you stimulate the network that you have. You of course have some Instagram part, but I'm lucky that this is not officially part of my job because I'm really not that. It takes me forever to take one picture that is acceptable. So I'm very happy that we have photographers that provide me sometimes.
Yeah.
So a big respect to all of those people.
There are great workshops for that as well, by the way.
You see? Yeah, perfect. Maybe I should join that. I think this would pay out soon.
We should talk about this.
Yeah, perfect.
You bring the drinks, I bring some photo skills.
And of course, we're always looking for, as you mentioned, we are looking for, on the one hand side, we stimulate the network that we have, and especially the people like bar owners, bartenders that work that. We want to get in love with our brands because then they will be like kind of like small brand ambassadors themselves. This is why, for example, we work with multiplicators like the German Bartender Union because they have a lot of members. We make education or workshops there. And on the other side, as you mentioned, that we met at this vernissage, for us, it's very crucial to get in more into touch with the end consumer and so therefore my work is split between kind of like B2C and B2B work, to be honest.
Okay. So that's interesting for all the people from the outside. You probably cater to more than one audience. I mean, the end consumer is definitely what everyone thinks about, who buys the drinks online in the bar. But as you just mentioned, it's super important that you probably get locations, bartenders, even, I don't know, resellers on board, right? So this is the people you cater to, not only cool vernissage parties, unfortunately.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Definitely. Of course, we are lucky that we have our distribution partner because they have their sales guys as well. But as you can imagine, having talks with the Metro Group, I love the Metro Group on the side, but compared from the fun factor,
sure,
a vernissage is more fun. But of course, everything is related to this. So.
Okay. So, I understand what you do day by day. How did you land that gig? How did you become the brand ambassador?
It's like, I was lucky. I don't know what year it was. It's like, we're all not getting younger, but I would say like it was 8 or 7 years ago when I was lucky to be like a German finalist and could manage even be like the 3rd place of an international cocktail competition from Linea Aquavit.
Ooh, so it's like a big casting.
No, this was just like, this had nothing to do with the applying for the job. But since that, I was already like, of course, I had some connections to the company.
Yeah.
But then, of course, I was just like, I did some external consulting. We did some guest shifts together. Me being the German finalist.
Yeah.
And since that, as I told, I was lucky to know some people. And then they told me, hey, there will be a job vacant soon. But then it was really like going through a headhunter agency. We had like, I sold my bar too early, to be honest, because I thought like, okay, this cannot take too long, the rounds of applying. But in the end, it was like 8 months.
Wow.
And competing against obviously 39 competitors. So it was really like, first you just had talks with the headhunter, then you had an online math tests and psychology tests to see if you fit within the...
That's a high-stakes job.
It was crazy. And then we had a meeting in Berlin and one in Copenhagen. And then I was lucky that after this 8 months, I finally got it. And of course, I was lucky that a friend of mine was owning a small Italian restaurant. And I had, during those 8 months, the chance to work in an Italian kitchen and prepare some pizza as well. So this was fun for me. It was super close to my flat. So I enjoyed La Dolce Vita, doing some pizzaiolo work. So as a pizza maker. It was fun.
That's amazing. All right. Okay. So I think we're at a good point where we could talk more about the brand itself, Linea Aquavit. So looking at it from the outside, it's a brand with a super long tradition. It's rooted in Scandinavia, northern Germany a lot. And I mean, the word aquavit itself derives from the Latin aqua vitae, which means water of life. So what's the life of the brand so far? Where does Linea Aquavit come from?
Yes, so speaking about Linea Aquavit, we are speaking about the oldest aquavit brand in the world that is still existing today. And we are speaking in detail about Norwegian aquavit, because as you might know, aquavit is produced like especially in the Nordics. Scandinavian countries in particular. So Finland, they are doing some small brands as well, but it's more about like Scandinavian countries from the heritage. And Norwegian aquavit, in comparison to Swedish or Danish or from other countries, is like potato based. So this is like a first interesting fact.
And the other ones are made of?
The other ones are like based from spirit that comes mainly from wheat or grains, so like from other origin. And Norway, even still today, is super proud of their potatoes. So you're still not allowed, if you go there with your van and you want to bring your German potatoes there, the custom police will destroy it. And even until the 90s, it was forbidden to bring potato chips to Norway, because they were so afraid that it might have some diseases that they stopped it. So Norwegian aquavit is potato based, and then it's from the production side, it's kind of similar to gin. I will not explain the differences because this is really like geeky, nerdy knowledge that might not be interesting for everyone. But we are similar in the production of gin, and as gin is working with botanicals, we are working with botanicals as well. And our main botanical that has to be in there by law is caraway seeds and or dill seeds. But for Norwegian aquavit and Linea Aquavit, it's mainly the caraway seed that is driving the taste. And then we have, of course, some peels from citrus fruits and some star anise that is essential for our taste. And the history, I think the most unique selling point is that our Linea Aquavit is aging on ships. At least part of his maturation time.
Which is amazing. So we definitely need to talk about this more. So you basically fill it into the containers, into the barrels, you load it up on a ship, and then on the journey, it's becoming what it ends up to be. How does that work? How long is the journey? How long does it have to sit there?
It was mainly a coincidence how it was found out in the past, because it was like 1805 when there was let's speak about a food fair in it was in nowadays Indonesia. And the Norwegian delegation, they had some unaged aquavit that they put into barrels to transport it, of course, and they had some dried fish and other goods. And when they came back from Indonesia, to that time the journey took 2 years on sea. And when they came back they had 4 barrels left. And when they crossed the line of the equator, and this is why we are called as well ourselves Linie, because of the line of the equator. They said like, okay, let's open one of those barrels. We had a safe trips, and let's see how it tastes. And they completely freaked out by the magnificent taste. And back in the days, it was Trondheim where we came back. They found out that due to the movement of the waves and the different climate zones, the spirit within the barrel worked a lot, and it really changed a lot in taste. Nowadays we have 4 months where we are aging at the sea, and we have 12 months in advance where we store the barrels in our warehouse. So in total, Linea Aquavit is like aged for 16 months. And of course, we're not using the old route like down around Africa. Nowadays, we're using the Panama Channel. So, but still, all of our barrels are placed on deck, that we have the maximum of climate influence, and the containers are open on the top. And we have the biggest amount of impact of moving of the ship. And no matter what time it is, we have always 1,000 barrels of Linea Aquavit on the oceans of the world.
That's amazing. That's an amazing story. And I love how movement changes the taste, because that's something you really have to know your craft and to learn from tradition. Because this is something, if you would ask me what influences the taste of a drink, I would come up with anything but movement. That's incredible.
Yes, but you even see it when you boil yourself a tea. When you just leave the tea bag like untouched inside, you will see when you have a berry infusion tea that your liquid is red down at the glass, but when you move it, it's getting like more mixed, and you get the taste faster in. So this is the concept. And we see even some other brands today. I think there's a rum from Tres Hombres that is aging on at the sea, and we have, I think, even a tequila and an American whiskey that are imitating our craft. And indeed, we try to imitate it ourselves to make it like artificial, but so far our laboratory is not able to.
Wow.
And you cannot imitate it so far. It's
amazing.
Crazy.
That's amazing. That's a creative life hack I'm definitely going to take away. So, okay, but I think as a brand, you're also facing a challenge, because with the long tradition you have and with the high quality you have, still, I don't know how it looks internationally, but I think in the German market, Linie Aquavit was, up until some years ago, considered a brand with a lot of tradition that's not happening in bars and clubs. So it's more of it caters more older people or traditionalists or something. So if I understand that right, your mission and your brand strategy right now is to reposition the whole brand a little bit. How do you approach that?
Yes, I totally agree what you said before. We have definitely the big challenge. This is always better than talking about problems. So of course our like classic consumer, he's old or she's old, and they drink still aquavit and Linie Aquavit in particular as this classic digestive. So like you had a kind of fatty meal, and you see it more as this digestive that has this healing effect of this medical aspect. But as we see, like young people, they eat more and more healthy, and unfortunately we are not an Italian product, because whole Germany is like flooded and packed with Italian restaurants. So we needed to get a new drink a new drink situation, why to consume aquavit, and therefore we decided to go for a mixed drink to show people how easily you can create a super tasty Linie Aquavit drink. And therefore we have in Hamburg now the test market for our Linie ginger drink.
Yes.
What is easy to do, and it tastes very well.
Sweet people, does your brand also need a design update? Do you have a contemporary branding that resonates with your audience? Do you tell captivating and meaningful brand stories? I can help you with that. With my design studio, I help you find and share your brand sweet spot to get clients you really want and turn customers into fans. Whether you need a unique brand design, a smart marketing strategy, or you want to create your own media product, such as this podcast. To find your sweet spot, just get in touch. Check out my website, sweetspot-studio.com, and drop me a line. And now, back to the show. This is something that you come up with. It's a long drink you created. And I learned a new word from you. At the vernissage, you talked about liquid to lips, which is it's a very specific term you use for making people taste your drink in a certain environment, if I get that right.
Yes, it's like I think we all, or no matter what product you produce or what branch you're into, I think the fact is, when I want to go out and I'm willing to pay, let's say like 10, 12 euro for a gin tonic, and I have a gin tonic in mind, why should I order an aquavit drink for the same price that I don't know? So for us, promoting and giving this chance to taste our drink is really crucial. So, and this is what we call liquid to lips as an approach that people experience our brand, or is in this case the mixed drink in an environment that they then hopefully have in a positive memory, and the next day or whatever time period, the next time they see our product in the supermarket, they might buy it, hopefully.
Absolutely. So I think this is one part of the strategy, but maybe you can give us a look inside the strategy. I mean, this is a huge thing. Reposition a brand from being traditional to catering a younger market, even a little early mover, hip market with art vernissages, galleries, in clubs, all that stuff. So I guess you do more than sponsor events. What's the overall strategy like? What things do you take? What steps do you take?
Yes, of course. Like in the beginning, it was really a lot of research that you had to do. Like, first of all, as well, not only talking about our brand, but about the whole category of aquavit compared to other categories of spirit, because still when we did this like big research, you could clearly find out that still today spirit categories like, for example, tequila, herb liquors or vodka are still considered very, very, very young and more in this like party ambience, whereas other categories like brandy, cognac, whiskey, they are considered more in a, let's call it like calm atmosphere, people really sipping, enjoying the product. And this was the first thing, especially then we had to decide or we had to be realistic with our pricing, because like speaking for end consumers, our product is already super premium, because it's like almost like 20 euros a bottle, what is obviously for the end consumer in a premium level. Let's put it premium, not super premium, but in a premium level. And therefore you had definitely already to decide, okay, we want to target a consumer group that is more like 30 till 45, because when you're 18 and you just want to have a party at home, you might go for products that are around 10 euros. And of course, we try to stimulate not only the on-trade for people who don't know it, is the whole hospitality segment, but we stimulate, of course, as well the off-trade when it comes to trade, supermarkets, etc. So as well there, we try on the one hand side nice incentives for supermarket owners, but we do as well like pop-up activities like a Scandic evening within an Edeka. And we make, for example, like end consumer events as well in supermarkets and try to surprise people by activations like this. And of course, we're looking for now projects that are fitting to our target group, like the art vernissage, for example, where we see a match between the people that are interested in art and that might be then interested in, because for us, it's like when you're interested in art, for example, you're like open-minded, you're curious to get to know something new. And this might as well be getting to know new spirits. And therefore, we just are looking for matches. We did a lot last December as well with like fashion labels that were in a match that, or at least we saw a match there. And therefore we are always looking for options and try to make some cooperations. And we are very happy what we achieved already last year. Of course, we had a lot of lockdown periods as well last year, but we're confident that at least when it gets warmer again, everything gets back to more normal, hopefully.
Fingers crossed.
Thank you so much.
So there's two different aspects, two different goals. One is quality, one is quantity. I guess they both come in hand when it comes to marketing and marketing actions. So where do you see Linea Aquavit in like 5 years? What's the vision? What's like a best case scenario?
Yes, for us, it's like, because still, like speaking just from today, we still make the biggest amount from our old consumers. So because they buy it, they are very loyal, we really appreciate it. So but we have to be aware that this is kind of like a group of people that is maybe no longer existing in 10 years or something. So this is why we are now heading for this new aspect. But we are hoping now, and this is why we chose Hamburg as well as a test market, that after this year, we will see some success in the numbers of where we are listed on bar menus, of course in the sales in the off-trade, that then our strategy or our hope will be to expand this test balloon from Hamburg to other cities. Of course, we are like, why we chose Hamburg is, I guess, quite clear, because like, northern Germany has more this tradition of knowing aquavit. The people like to travel to the Scandics during the summer vacation, whether in the south you have more the connection to the southern countries and Italy, sure. And my dream would be that in 5 years we have this Linea ginger drink at least, let's say, to south till Cologne.
All right.
Let's go like this.
So how would you how would you judge the different international markets? Is there a big difference in brand awareness or brand perception in Germany compared to other European or maybe even overseas countries?
Yeah, it's I think there are really some super interesting fun facts from different countries, because of course, for example, Linie Aquavit is the internationally best known brand. But even if people know Linie, because most of people just say Linie to it, not even Linie Aquavit, they don't even know that it's an aquavit. But I think having an international look at the map where we are today, I think it's crazy to see that we get more and more popular in the US market. So this is there was even I think it was 6 years ago a big article in the New York Times, because this whole Scandic topic, I think this is not only about spirits, but in the USA the whole topic about being a Scandic company and this Scandic healthy lifestyle, kind of linked to the nature. This was obviously very en vogue in the US, and still today we see a lot of people producing even aquavit in the US. This is sometimes, when it comes to European law, it's more like a flavored liquor. In Europe they would not be allowed to be called aquavit. But for us, as we are still a small niche of spirits, for me there is no concurrency. For me, I'm happy for everyone who's pushing the taste profile of aquavit, and it's so 100%. Much fun when you, for example, when you are on exhibitions and you meet, for example, aquavit producers from California, and they have the botanicals, of course, they have Californian orange peel. Sometimes for me it's too sweet, but it's so much fun to get in talks with them, and they are always you come from the big global player league, but it's so cool to see young startups even producing aquavit, or you see it even here, some local chins using aquavit botanicals, or you still have this classic Kümmel Schnapps, this caraway liquor that is sweeter than aquavit. But for me, it's I'm happy for everyone who's kind of pushing this flavor profile, and therefore it's really interesting to see other markets. And we have to be aware that caraway is really a taste that is very international, because of course we use caraway from Norway. But we see, when it comes to cuisine, when people use caraway for food, you see a lot of caraway in the Eastern cuisine, or especially from the Orient countries, Indian cuisine. And this is as well, when we spoke about inspiration, sometimes I chose as well countries or continents to get inspired. Because to combine, of course, you always have a match when you combine Norwegian ingredients with a Norwegian product, but I think it's as well super interesting to combine curry and exotic flavors that have a link to aquavit some way, somehow, at least in their cuisine of food. And therefore I'm very I'm happy to work for a product that is not that mainstream yet. And of course, there might be products that are easier to promote, but on the other side, this is really the challenge that I love. And I think you still can educate the people a lot.
And I still think it's a high quality product. And that's in the end what's maybe going to win over new markets. So, let's dive into flavors again, because you just established a new long drink with Linie Ginger. How did it come to the decision to take in the flavor of ginger? Was that hardcore market research? Is this just the guts of one brand bartender or something? How did this come to life?
Yes, of course. When you look to ginger ale as a filler in general, I think, and there we are back to the craft side when we spoke about classics, because of course you might know a classic called Horse's Neck. This is whiskey based plus ginger ale, and as our aquavit is, and it's barrel aged whiskey, of course. And therefore, you can say in general, even we saw some approaches from cognac brands that established a drink with ginger ale, or maybe you remember the big campaign from Jameson Irish whiskey. the match between ginger ale and aged spirits is always working well.
Yeah.
Of course, if you want it more spicy, you think about a dark and stormy, and you would have like rum plus ginger beer, for example, what is more spicy. And but there was a lot of research as well. For example, ginger ale, even though many people might think that tonic water is very en vogue or ginger beer, but when you think about fillers like Schweppes, and you can get some data from them, ginger ale is still one of the most selling products. So the Germans obviously like ginger ale. Mm-hmm. So for us, it was like, okay, there might be Germans that have regularly ginger ale in their fridges. There is always a match between aged spirits. And therefore with Linie Aquavit being aged 16 months. And then of course we, but in the end we had as well kind of like a competition where we had many recipes and decided in the end for Linie Ginger. There was another round to decide about the garnishes where we ended up with the blueberries and cucumbers.
Yeah. That's a bold move, by the way. I think from the outside it looks like a bold move. Cucumber, blueberries, and ginger. It tastes amazing. I just had it on Saturday, but it looks very bold. So that's why I wondered: is that just your guts? This was then
really like I personally would have like my personal taste liked the version with basil as a garnish as well.
Yeah,
but this was then in the end really like research, because I'm totally in the industry, so I cannot. Maybe my opinion is not very objective in some way somehow then as well. But what we saw is that people really love to play. They first of all like the color contrast of blueberries within a drink that is more like brownish, or let's call it better, golden.
Yeah, of course.
But and they like this like kind of like gambling aspect of trying to fish the blueberries out. For me, it was just like coming more from hospitality. It was like, okay, cucumbers, if I don't offer brunch or breakfast, why should I have blueberries? They are expensive and they don't add any flavor. The cucumber does, of course, like the longer the cucumber is in, you get this fresh notes.
Yeah.
But this was crazy to see from the research, and the people were really like, yes, I like to play with the blueberries. And I was like, okay, we should design a stirrer in the way of a harpoon, but then they try to catch the blueberries. But it's sometimes fun how researchers work out, and there we are now.
That's like a classic creative brainstorming technique or something. If you approach a drink, what do you go for? You can go for color, feel, or even playfulness. And I love the fact that the blueberries don't really add flavor, but they make people interact with their drink, actually, you know?
Yeah, it's crazy. Of course, I never mind if a bar owner that doesn't have any blueberries, he's just serving the drink with cucumber. Fair enough for him.
Yeah.
But it's I could myself really learn a lot from those many rounds of research, and of course I felt like a detective when you are behind this window.
Absolutely.
From the one side that's a mirror, and you just be there like sneaking around and watching the people react to the drink. This was a lot of fun, to be honest.
It's great. You know, this reminds me of a talk I had some weeks ago with a managing director of a theater who said the future of theater, even though we're all streaming digital, even though everything is happening in the digital world, the future lies in these brand experiences or shared experiences. So I think that's also not only on the product base, which you said, okay, let's make people play with it, let's have blueberries inside, but also the events you host. I think how do you see the Linie Aquavit brand experiences? What's like the standard? Or how do you draft them? Which projects do you take on? Why do you take art context-based vernissages instead of parties and all that? Is that also something that relates to the brand image, or only the audience you want to cater to?
I think, of course, this is both, probably, because of course, as I mentioned, our pricing, we are as well not, for example, pushing a lot effort in targeting, for example, nightclubs as clients. Of course, we are lucky when a nightclub sells us as a shot, but as mentioned, we want to target a group like 30 till 45, of course, like plus minus. Mm-hmm. But therefore, we are looking for kind of people that are already, they have their kind of like wealthy lifestyle, or not, it does not have to be wealthy, but they know about quality, they have a safety in life, and they are curious to find out about new products. Of course, we have our heritage when we come as we are Norwegian product. So we saw in the research as well that this nature aspect is obviously important for people that like our products. So some way, somehow we try to as well to bring this in as well when it comes to communication on Instagram. Of course, we have an agency for that, a creative agency that is supporting us and working super solid hand in hand after our guidance, of course, but they really do a great work to transport the image of us being a premium brand with this Norwegian heritage into a like now like Hamburg target group that are within the quarters of Hamburg that are like mainly the quarters for going out and have a good time.
Sure.
So in the end, it's both. Of course, we're looking for partners in cooperation that have a solid network itself. For example, our campaign as well is called What Really Counts. Of course, this doesn't mean like what really counts is drinking alcohol, but this is like because that's not. But the values that we have, like this craft heritage and like other values, especially as being a Scandinavian company as well, when it comes to employees, etc., and partnerships, we're very reliable, and therefore as well we teamed up, for example, with Viva Con Aqua, and donated money for them during our Aquavit week, where we donated €1 per linear ginger, and so we're looking for fits for our campaign. But of course, we are looking for partners that have as well a network that might be interesting for us.
Yeah, not Linear Aquavit, Viva Con Aqua. I'm going to talk to later on this year. Also,
amazing,
also inspiring brand. Yeah,
perfect.
So I wanna circle back, I think, to the whole topic of brand experience, because I think it's an interesting time. After 2 years of lockdown, people have two contrasting emotions within them. On the one hand, they were all stuck at home. They long for going out, partying, all of that. And at the same time, people get more and more aware of a healthy lifestyle, a fitness lifestyle, all that. And I love the fact that you work for such a hedonistic brand, which is close to my vest. Let's say it like this. So I'm just interested, what role does it play in your life? Like the whole having a drink, connecting to people, what does that resonate within you?
It's like, of course, the healthy lifestyle is getting more and more important, and we know that. And we see as well a big growth in even like non-alcoholic spirits, where I sometimes get completely confused when people are willing to buy a bottle of a non-alcoholic spirit for €40 or something. But I think it's really important to especially share this drink responsibility as well, of course, because we are we tried to communicate as well the Scandic feeling of never drinking alone, to have this like family character of always joining good beverage and food in company, of course. But speaking for me personally, due to my job, of course, I'm like always like in contact with alcohol. Therefore, in my private life, you find me rarely drinking, as I drink, of course, due to the job. But still, I'm very aware that this is like a fun fact. For example, during one of the cocktail competitions, there was the wife, or now she's the wife. Greetings to Sebastian and Madia in this case, because she was so impressed by the final, because there was a host who is very famous, obviously, in Norwegian television, and our cocktail competitions were really big and fancy. But she's working as a doctor at the chirurgy in a hospital, and she was like super impressed and was like, "Man, this is so crazy what you do. I never experienced something." And I was like, "My dear, in the end, this is nothing compared to your job working in the surgery of a hospital." So big props for you. But of course, I think still it's a lot of fun to work with spirits. But of course, you have to be aware that there should be responsibility behind it. And
So Okay, from your being sober in private, great name for your autobiography, by the way. You said in an interview with the Mixology magazine once that Japanese drinking culture is a big inspiration for you personally. How come? What's special about Japanese drinks and their culture?
Yes, I think the whole thing about Asia, but as well, like for Japan in particular, is the whole thing about like honor and hospitality understanding. I think like unfortunately so far we couldn't manage it in Germany, and I was part of the IHK, the Industrie- und Handelskammer in Bavaria as well, for taking the exams for bartenders. But unfortunately, we are so far not a official job. You cannot do a degree in being bartending, and this is totally different in Japan. And even if you think about sushi masters, for example,
sure, cooking rice for 8 years.
Cooking rice for 8 years. It takes you like 20 years up. When you really want to become a sushi master. And it's the same with bartending. Like they have a real education for bartending. It takes you like 4 years. And it's not only about, of course, they have this huge tradition of cutting ice by their hands. They have this, but what is most impressive is really this hospitality aspect. And of course, in Asian countries, you have this, it's even when it comes to how deep you put your head when you greet somebody and you show this like kind of hierarchy. This is really impressive, and therefore I think it's just like an inspiring country, and you can learn a lot from Asian hospitality.
All right. Okay, that's great. So talking about inspiration, I have 2 questions for all of my interview partners. Last 2 questions. So the first of them would be, besides Asian or Japanese drinking culture, what inspires you personally at the moment for your job or for Linea Aquavit? Can be movies, books, talks, anything you want to share with the sweet people listening.
Okay, perfect. Yes, I think still, even though it's not like inventing something new, but I think to share knowledge with chefs and cooks is really is essential, because I think you can learn a lot. Of course, the business is totally different, and I have the biggest respect for chefs and cooks as well. In one of my personal stations, I had to jump in to the chef position when somebody was ill, and this was so crazy in our a la carte business where we had like 500 seats, and Angela, the head of the kitchen, I have the biggest respect. This was so crazy. It was so working different because of, as you might imagine, a drink, it takes almost the same time to make drinks. So when the order comes, you just make them table by table. But when you have a steak that shall be in the state of well done, and you have like starters, you have to have an like 360 overview on what's going on. And in the end, I was like, I just did what she said, and I failed in learning her concept. So this was, and I still think you have a lot of techniques where you can profit when you speak with chefs, and as well their understanding. What is really as well still interesting is this whole topic of food pairing, where you have this chemical aspect of showing like family of tastes. So this is really like kind of like a chemical way of watching products, and there, for example, you then suddenly see similarities between radish and aquavit, for example, and therefore you can combine new flavors. But of course, what is getting more and more, as we spoke about sustainability, there are even some bars that try to save CO2 by ordering limes or lemons from that sometimes come from overseas. So, and therefore work with ascorbine acid, for example, this is super interesting, like alternative acidity and different techniques. So there's still a lot to learn for myself, of course, as well. And as I'm now out from the daily bar business since like 4 years, I'm super impressed by new bars that are opening as well, no matter if it's Hamburg or all over Germany. But I think for me, those new techniques and learning from chefs is always essential.
This is something actually that I always look towards as well. I'm so impressed by chefs and the way the discipline that goes into it, the overview, the management of teams and the commitment to your work. And at the same time, it's like the perfect example if you say you have a great chef that works a la carte or something, from this sweet spot between being a service provider, feeding people, making them happy on an occasion, all the craftsmanship, and at the same time the creativity of coming up with new flavor profiles, reinventing yourself, coming up with own dishes. It's a great inspiration for me as well, even though I work in a very different field of design.
Yeah,
so.
it is crazy. For example, at Circle Bar, we imitated this dish from this, I forgot the name, unfortunately, but he's one of the most famous chefs from South America, who had this dish with the acidity from the ants. And he has a dish where he works and it makes your lips and tongue a little bit numb when you eat those Amazonian ants. And we transported this into a drink.
Amazing.
So this is like, I think it's a lot to learn from each other, and this is what it makes fun no matter like in which branch you are. I think this whole sharing knowledge and don't see each other as concurrents is for me essential, because speaking about hospitality, it was the same when I had my bar. I don't mind if people, of course we had a small menu of food. I did some tartare and like easy sandwiches because yes, I was starting the bar alone. But for me it was like essential that the whole area has a good quality of service. So I don't care if people had a good time in a restaurant before and then they come to my bar and in the end they end up in a nightclub or in a dive bar, and I'm happy when they stayed there till 8 in the morning and I can close at 3 a.m. So I think, working together, no matter which branch you are, is essential. And I think nowadays everyone understands that this is no longer this like Manchester capitalism, but more this togetherness.
That's a great message. I really appreciate that. Yeah, it's not only competition, you can work together. Really like it. So, well, last question I ask all of my guests is what's next? What can we look forward to from Linea Aquavit, from you personally? What do you have in store for us?
Of course, I cannot, as I told, we are now like focusing on Hamburg. So unfortunately, I apologize already now for all the listeners
That's okay.
from outside the Hamburg area. But of course, there might come or there will be some cool events coming up this summer. Of course, we're waiting for hotter temperatures. So the government will let us do more crazy things that we are allowed to now in the cold COVID days. So if you follow our Instagram accounts, Linea Aquavit Deutschland, you can stay informed all the time, and never hesitate if you have particular question as well to get in contact with me. You will find me with my regular name. It's not an artist name, so Michael Ehrenwirth. You can find me on Instagram or Facebook, and never hesitate to text an email or just write a short message or react to my stories. We are always and have this Scandinavian mood and attitude of helping each other and sharing knowledge. So and stay informed what might come from interesting events. And Marc, hopefully we as well, with you being an artist too, will share some common and some events together this year.
Looking forward to that. And sweet people, you will find all those links to Linea Aquavit, to Michael's Instagram, everything we talked about in the show notes for this episode. Michael, thank you so much for being here. It was a pleasure.
Thanks for the invitation. Sorry for my bad English, but I hope you understand everything.
It was perfect. So now let's have a drink.
Amazing. Looking forward to this.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers, sweeties. That's been a great talk. I love when you can mix business with pleasure, talk about brand strategy and design and have a great drink. Of course, you should drink responsibly. But with that being said, I believe that a drink can be a great accelerator for creative processes, especially if you're not regularly working in the realm of associative flow and ideation. So when I'm doing workshops or creative coachings, I find a glass of wine or a champagne helps people to loosen up and get into the creative zone. What do you think? Do you have similar experiences, or do you always create sober? Let me know in the comments or drop me a line. Next Wednesday, I'll be talking to Matt Smith, who is a speaker, an entertainer, event host, and founder of the media company The Lunicorn. We will dive into the world of startups and entrepreneurship and explore why brands need to be entertainers for their audiences today. That's it for this week. Take care, people, and have a sweet week.
This podcast is produced by Sweetspot Studio. New episodes each week, wherever you listen to your podcasts. If you enjoyed the show, leave a rating and subscribe to never miss an episode. Find out more at sweetspot-studio.com.